Okay, says Halacha Yomi. We're up to page 409. It is permitted to give a non-Jew money for investment purposes, and you'll split the profits, even though the non-Jew, you'll know that he'll do business with the money on Shabbat. Why is this permitted? Because the work is not incumbent on the Jew, and no one can tell that the money was originally from a Jew. This is only permitted in the following conditions. Number one, you're not allowed to tell the non-Jew explicitly to do the job on Shabbat. You can't tell him to do business on Shabbat. Number two, the non-Jew is not allowed to take the money from the Jew on Shabbat. Number three, the Jew does not need to also use the money to invest during the weekday as a way of repaying the non-Jew for working on Shabbat. If the Jew needs to additionally invest with the money during the week, they must stipulate beforehand that the Jew will have no share in the profits made on Shabbat. So what happens? I have a goy who's my friend, and he's going to a show. He's going to a fair. And this fair, to get good prices over there, deals, it's on Shabbat, it's on Saturday. So I'm a Jew, ain't gonna work on Saturday, right? I can't work. So I give him some money. I said to him, listen, I don't tell him, go on Shabbat. I give him on Wednesday money, and I tell him, listen, hold on to my money. If you see good investment, invest. I give you the power and the permission to use my money to find a good deal. And when does he find the deal? Saturday he went. I didn't tell him to go Saturday, but he went Saturday and he found a deal over there. He's allowed to buy it with my money, and we will make some sort of split of the profits because he worked and I supplied the money. So we'll split it, even though he did business on Shabbat. He did business on Shabbat because I did not tell him that he has to go on Shabbat. And number two, he doesn't work for me. He has a stake in this money also. So therefore, he's not considered my employee that I made him work on Shabbat. Now, 23, it is permitted to deposit money in a non-Jewish bank and benefit from any money that's gained as a result of a transaction the bank did on Shabbat. Person puts money in an IRA. He puts some money in a savings account. And it's collecting interest, dividends, right? Yeah. But when is it collecting? It's also collecting on Shabbat. So maybe the bank is working for me on Shabbat. No, it's not considered a sur when you put the money in the bank during the week and the bank makes money on Shabbat. Let's say you own stocks in a company. I bought Tesla stock, right? 24. It is permitted to buy minority shares in a company that operates on Shabbat. So let's say Tesla works on Saturday and I own stock. I'm not a majority stockholder. I'm a minority. I own a few hundred stocks. To be majority, you probably have to own hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of stocks. I own a couple hundred, that's it. What happens? So this is permitted to own even though they work on Shabbat. This is not the same as becoming a partner in a company that works on Shabbat, that because you're not the owner, you're not the manager, you don't have any say, you don't have any power. So therefore, you're allowed to own such a thing. And even if you do own majority of stocks, let's say you own 60% of the stocks, you're really supposed to be a chairman on the board, but you don't get involved. You say, I don't want to be on the board. I want to be a hidden person. I don't want to be involved. You will be also permitted, if it's not clear that you're on the board, there's no indication in the company that there's a Jew involved, you will even be allowed to majority stockholder who doesn't make any decisions, silent partner, and he'll work on Shabbat. You're allowed to also own such a thing. 25. It is permitted to give a non-Jew merchandise on commission to sell, even though it's possible he'll sell merchandise on Shabbat, provided that you don't specify it should be sold on Shabbat, and he has the possibility to sell it during the week. Furthermore, the merchandise may not be sold from the house or privately owned store of the Jew. Let's say a guy has watches, right? So the goy comes to him and he says, listen, give me this watch, and when I sell it, I'll take just commission, you take the rest, right? So he says, okay. So he takes it Friday, he takes it Thursday, and he doesn't find anybody. When did he bump into a person who bought it? Saturday, he bumped into the guy, and he made the sale. So now the commission and the profits he brings it to you on Sunday. He says, look, I sold this watch on Saturday. You're allowed to take this money? Yeah, I'm allowed to take this money. I didn't tell him to sell on Shabbat, and I gave him the watch to sell during the week. He could have done it during the week. Okay, so he found the guy on Shabbat. That's not my problem, and you're allowed to do this. Now, Halacha says also that he cannot do it from your house. Some people put ads online, and they say selling this and this and this. You can come to this and this address. And which address does he put? He puts your house. So what? They're gonna have people. Oh, you came to sell the watches. Very good. Come, I'll open the basement for you. No, what is this? You can't bring customers Even if it's the goy's customers, you can't bring the goy's customers to your house where the product is and sell it out of your house, even though you're not making the sale. The goy is making the sale. No, it cannot be on your property. However, if the only day that is possible to sell the merchandise is Shabbat, for example, that day is the marketplace day, some poskim say it's not permitted to give the merchandise to the non-Jew to sell on one's behalf, but others permit doing so even in such a case. Okay, mahloket. But best thing to do is give it to him during the week. That way, even if he makes a sale on Shabbat, I didn't tell him to do it, so therefore, it's permitted. Okay, what about lending or renting an item to a non-Jew Erev Shabbat? Number one may lend or rent an object to a non-Jew Erev Shabbat, even if the item will be used on Shabbat. My neighbor who's a goy knocks on my door Friday. Do you have a drill? Do you have a power saw? Do you have a lawnmower? I say, of course, no problem. You want to borrow it? Yeah, sure. Can I borrow it? Sure, take it. You're allowed to lend it to him, or even rent it to him, right? Let's say you own vacuums, you own leaf blowers, and you rent your businesses. You rent them out. You can come pick them up and rent it out. So you want to rent it out, and it'll be used on Shabbat. This is permitted. This is also permitted even if the object will be used will be performed melacha, which is forbidden for a Jew to use, like a sewing machine or a drill. You're allowed to rent it out to a goy. 2, it is prohibited or to give or to lend a non-Jew an item on Shabbat that a non-Jew will take from the Jew's home and walk in the public domain, since onlookers will suspect the Jew of telling the non-Jew to take the item on his behalf, right? So let's say a goy comes to pick up something that he's renting. He's not allowed to rent it and walk with it in the street on Shabbat. He has to take it before Shabbat. Because if he takes it on Shabbat, people are going to think that he's your messenger and he's carrying for you stuff in the public domain on Shabbat. It's not allowed. 3, one who has a rental store, he rents out various items. He's permitted to rent an item to a non-Jew on Erev Shabbat, even though he knows the non-Jew will be using the item on Shabbat. Let's say I own a car rental company. So I have 20 cars I rent out. And a guy comes to me Friday, I want to rent out a car. Okay, I rent it out to him on Friday afternoon. He signs everything. He walks away with the car. And when he's going to be driving this car? All Saturday he's going to be driving this car. And it's my car. I own the car. Mutar. Why? Even though I know the non-Jew will be used the item on Shabbat. This is even permitted even if the non-Jew pays as he uses the item. Let's say it's not a fixed rate. Let's say he pays per mile that he uses. He pays per mile, right? You have to pay per mile, let's say. So over there, even then, it's also allowed. However, if the item will be used in a Jewish community and the cars all have a name on it, right? What does it say? It says Shalom's Cars. Your whole company, the fleet, you have 20 cars you have, right? You rent out all these Maseratis. So it happens, it says Shalom's Cars. So guy, Goy, who rents it at Friday, driving around a Maserati that says Shalom's car, so people are going to say, whoa, Shalom makes business on Shabbat. Whoa, how's that allowed? So you should know over there, that's the case of Tasur. But if it doesn't say your name, and nobody knows it's your car, so you're allowed to rent it to him Erev Shabbat, even though he's going to be driving it all Shabbat. No, but they know it's a Jew. They know it's a Jew, that's the problem. 4, one who owns a laundromat or vending machines that are situated in a non-Jewish neighborhood does not have to shut down the machines before Shabbat, even though it's possible the non-Jews will use the machines on Shabbat. However, it's praiseworthy they should stipulate that he's not having in mind to acquire any money that is put inside these machines till after Shabbat.
Is a Jew, you're happy to be one of the residents is a Jew? A problem there? Because now he's used it, so he's going to collect money.
No, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. It's just, maybe it's lifnei iver. Maybe that's why you shouldn't have these machines in a Jewish place, right? Or if you do have them in a Jewish place, you should shut them down before Shabbat. But if you have them in a non-Jewish place, you could continue to have them open. Number 5, one may not lend an item to a non-Jew on Shabbat or on Friday close to Shabbat if it's not enough time for him to take it out of the lender's home before nightfall. Okay. Where is this? Okay, good. That we have. Okay, good. Okay, now let's move on to the next section where there are classic cases where non-Jews are allowed to do melacha for you, and we're going to see halachot for non-Jewish housekeepers. Non-Jewish housekeepers we're going to do next time. But number 1, let's say you have elderly people. They have a home attendant, right? And the home attendant is a non-Jew. Okay, so not all elderly people are automatically permitted to use a goy. It has to be, each case has to be judged differently. If there's a need for the elderly person to have assistance, one could be lenient. Let's say an old person is ill or cannot walk. One may use the elevator even without a Shabbat elevator, provided that no buttons are pressed and the door is not held open by a Jew. One may even allow a non-Jew to operate the elevator if one needs to fulfill a mitzvah, such as going to pray with a minyan. However, one should not ask him directly to do so. So for an elderly person, a person cannot walk, you'll be allowed to use a goy to go and open the elevator and press the buttons for you. However, you should not directly ask him to do so. Number 3, for certain people, it is permitted to allow a non-Jew to give them a bath on Shabbat, even if they use hot water. However, it should be determined before Shabbat if this is necessary, and you should try to plan accordingly that you don't take baths on Shabbat. But if he needs to, let's say he has some sort of skin condition, so then it'll be allowed. Let's say an elderly person needs to reattach bandages and put ointments again. All these things, you'll be allowed to ask a non-Jew to do it for him. What about people who need to do physical therapy? Every day need to do physical therapy. They'll be allowed to do it on Shabbat, but better to use a non-Jew. Next time, we're going to talk about housekeepers, what you're allowed to tell them and what you're not allowed to tell them. Baruch Adonai Olam.